Can you believe it? One of America's greatest icons, Coca-Cola, is pulling its main operations out of its own homeland following the shocking trade war policies of President Donald Trump. This is not just a simple business decision, but an economic shock worth $42 billion, marking an unprecedented turning point on the global stage. What could have forced this giant to abandon America, and how far-reaching will the consequences be? A beloved American symbol, known worldwide like Coca-Cola, has decided to leave its own home country? It sounds unbelievable, but this is the reality unfolding right now. Coca-Cola, a brand inseparably linked to American identity and part of daily life for billions around the globe, has just made a stunning announcement. They will withdraw their entire core operations from the United States. This decision is not due to a simple reason, but is the outcome of a long, brutal trade war, spearheaded by President Donald Trump and his aggressive economic protectionism policies. Trump imposed a series of steep import tariffs on many goods, including aluminum, the key material that makes those familiar Coca-Cola cans. His goal was to protect domestic industries and help America become more economically self-reliant. While ambitious and commendable in theory, the reality was quite the opposite. These tariff hikes ignited a tense trade war between the U.S. and major partners like Canada, China, and several other countries. Those countries did not sit idly by. They immediately retaliated with their own tariffs, making the situation more complicated and strained than ever. So, what were the consequences of this trade war? Input material costs, especially aluminum, soared, not only because of U.S. import tariffs, but also due to retaliatory tariffs from international partners. Aluminum, an indispensable ingredient used to produce billions of Coca-Cola cans every year, became more expensive than ever before. But that's not all. Other vital ingredients like sugar and flavorings, imported from Latin America and Asia, were also caught in the price surge caused by the ripple effects of these trade policies. James Quincy, Coca-Cola's CEO, had to openly admit this harsh reality. Rising production costs combined with global supply chain instability made operating out of the U.S. unsustainable. The company's profits faced serious risks if they continued business under these conditions. As a result, a painful but necessary decision was made to withdraw their core operations from the U.S., a move that sent shockwaves valued at $42 billion. This was more than just a business decision. It was a clear sign of the enormous pressure trade wars can place on multinational corporations, and a warning about the unpredictable consequences of excessive economic protectionism. Coca-Cola, once a source of American pride, now must seek its future elsewhere, a turning point that forces the world to rethink global economic and political dynamics in the years ahead. After the shocking decision to pull out of the United States, the big question is, what pushed such a giant like Coca-Cola to take this bold and unprecedented step? The answer lies in the tariffs that have completely shattered their intricate global supply chain, sending production costs soaring and unleashing countless unpredictable risks. Let's take a closer look at how these tariffs tangled Coca-Cola's carefully balanced operations. Imagine this. To produce one refreshing can of Coca-Cola, the company must manage an incredibly complex supply chain that spans the entire globe. From agricultural ingredients like sugar and fruit extracts, to packaging materials such as aluminum cans and plastic bottles, to machinery and even marketing services, each piece passes through multiple countries before the final product reaches consumers. This operation depends on perfect synchronization, stable costs, and ultra-efficient logistics. But suddenly, everything started to unravel when tariff policies shot up unexpectedly. The sharp rise in import tariffs disrupted the smooth flow of raw materials. The price of aluminum, the crucial material for Coca-Cola cans, skyrocketed due to U.S. tariffs, while countries like Canada and China struck back with retaliatory tariffs, pushing production costs to dizzying heights. But it didn't stop there. Prices of sugar and flavorings imported from Latin America and Asia also climbed, creating huge pressure on the final product's cost. Coca-Cola could absorb these increased costs for a while, but it cannot keep sacrificing profits or raising prices indefinitely, because American and global consumers are highly sensitive to price changes. This is why the whole situation became more unstable and challenging than ever before. With its supply chain fractured and costs relentlessly climbing, Coca-Cola couldn't just sit and wait for things to get better. So why did the company decide to leave its historic American home turf? And where is this giant headed next? The answer lies in the distinct advantages that certain European countries offer, places promising a stable business environment, more reasonable costs, and importantly, open trade systems friendly to multinational corporations like Coca-Cola. Let's explore why Europe is emerging as a prime destination for this high-profile guest. As the trade war dragged on and production costs in the US continued to climb, CEO James Quincey faced enormous pressure to find a lifeline for the company. The US business environment was no longer competitive as it became entangled in multi-front tariff disputes, making Coca-Cola's global supply chain risky and costly to maintain. In this context, European countries such as Germany, the Netherlands, and Switzerland quickly surfaced as top contenders for Coca-Cola's new headquarters due to their significant advantages. These countries boast modern logistics systems with strong connections to major global markets. Their attractive tax policies and political stability create a fertile ground for multinational businesses to thrive. Moreover, establishing a base there would allow Coca-Cola easier and more seamless access to the vast European Union market. Relocating headquarters is not just a business move, but a strategic step to protect profits, maintain access to critical markets, and preserve brand reputation amid an increasingly unstable US economic environment caused by trade wars. Coca-Cola's story is not isolated. It could trigger a domino effect, prompting other multinational giants to reconsider whether staying in the US is viable or if it's time to find more favorable ports elsewhere. Coca-Cola's decision to leave the United States, prompted by tariff instability and rising production costs, signals far more than just a headquarters relocation. Behind this strategy lie profound consequences that extend beyond economics to affect society and culture. Workers, communities, and the iconic image of America now face significant losses, signaling changes that cannot be overlooked in the near future. Coca-Cola is not just an ordinary beverage company. It directly employs tens of thousands of American workers and indirectly supports millions more through its extensive distribution, retail, and service networks across the country. The company's withdrawal from the US risks triggering a severe wave of job losses, deeply impacting local economies and communities that have identified with the brand for generations. Moreover, Coca-Cola has a strong tradition of investing in education, scholarships, and numerous community development programs throughout the United States. This retreat will undoubtedly reduce these social contributions significantly, with long-lasting effects on the organizations and individuals who have relied on such support. Labor unions express serious concerns about the future employment prospects of their members, while increasing pressure on the US government to find ways to retain major corporations like Coca-Cola. On the international stage, countries that reject retaliatory tariffs and maintain open trade policies are becoming more attractive destinations for multinational corporations like Coca-Cola, once a true symbol of American culture, linked to history by providing beverages to US troops during World War II, representing the American dream during the Cold War, and forming an inseparable part of American pop culture. Coca-Cola's forced departure is not only an economic loss, it also delivers a profound symbolic shock, prompting many Americans to reconsider the country's position and future amid the turbulent forces of globalization. Following the heavy economic, social, and cultural consequences caused by Coca-Cola's withdrawal from the United States, the company now faces a colossal challenge: how to rebuild its headquarters and global supply chains in a completely new environment. This is neither an easy nor a quick task. Coca-Cola must relocate its entire office operations and its modern, complex IT infrastructure to a new location. At the same time, it needs to renegotiate contracts with suppliers from scratch, retrain new personnel, and establish partnerships with local businesses and government authorities in the newly chosen host country. The initial investment costs involved in this process are enormous. They include expenses for relocation, infrastructure development, recruitment and training of staff, as well as other unforeseen costs that arise when operating in a new business environment. However, this step is regarded as unavoidable and necessary to ensure Coca-Cola can maintain stable operations and achieve sustainable growth amid a volatile and uncertain global economic landscape. Coca-Cola's move also has a ripple effect on many other industries. Sectors such as technology, automotive manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and finance, all heavily reliant on global supply chains and a stable policy environment, may start reconsidering their own strategies of maintaining headquarters in the US as a risk mitigation measure against the uncertainties caused by trade policies and tariffs. This could signal the beginning of a broader trend of multinational corporations shifting their bases out of the United States if the current conditions persist. Such changes will not only affect companies, but could also lead to fluctuations in the real estate market, shifts in employment trends, and wide-ranging impacts on domestic business support policies within the U.S. As major corporations depart, industrial zones, office spaces, and related services will face downward pressure, creating further consequences for local economies. Additionally, this withdrawal is expected to accelerate efforts by the U.S. government and other nations to strengthen regional trade alliances such as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and the European Union, EU. These agreements offer global businesses a way to reduce dependency on traditional multilateral mechanisms like the World Trade Organization, WTO, which increasingly face prolonged and difficult trade disputes. Through these regional frameworks, companies may find a more stable, transparent, and favorable trading environment for global business operations. In summary, Coca-Cola's relocation out of the United States is not merely a business decision, but a major turning point in how multinational corporations evaluate America's competitive advantages amid continuously shifting trade policies. It presents enormous challenges for the U.S. economy in retaining corporations while driving profound changes in the global trade and investment landscape in the near future. The story of Coca-Cola's $42 billion withdrawal from the U.S. is not just a major business deal but marks a critical turning point on the global economic map. This unprecedented event reflects deep and fundamental changes in the business environment that multinational corporations face today. Immediately, it became a hot topic for academics, economists, and politicians worldwide, sparking intense debates. The event affects not only Coca-Cola's strategy, but also raises profound questions about the future of globalization, especially as economic protectionism rises and international trade disputes become fiercer than ever. The fact that an icon of the American economy is forced to leave its homeland prompts many to reflect on how businesses can adapt in this new world, as well as the necessary shifts in global economic and trade policies to protect and promote sustainable development. What do you think about the prolonged trade war and Coca-Cola's decision to leave the U.S.? How far-reaching will its impact be? Now is the time for us to exchange views, share perspectives, and gain deeper insight into this turbulent global economic landscape.